Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Today is ruled by Lord Surya, who is this beautiful sun out in the sky today. I hope you're able to get out and enjoy this beautiful Sunday. Now, the sun represents our ego, how we shine in the world, and there are 28 nakshatras, which are personality types that we bring in, and there's 4 padas within those personality types. So we all come in with our own individual narratives and soul experiences, and we're all here to kind of help each other back to the one source where we all came from. And the sun is our ego, how we shine in the world, our outer personality, as opposed to the moon, which is our inner personality, the state that we keep a little more hidden. Now, the sun, as I mentioned, mentions the ego. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about the ego from the Gita today. So you don't want to miss that. And then I'm also going to go into what we can expect from the egos in the collective as well. So just kind of help you guys out a little bit. As I mentioned, today's is Surya's day. I'm wearing red for Lord Surya. You could also wear oranges, darker yellows, things like that. Colors of the sun, the sunset, just to honor Lord Surya today. And then I have my sun earrings on too. So a really good mantra that you can do for the sun is Om Suryaye Namaha. And you can do that 108 times via mala. And that is if you feel like your ego is a little like, ooh, okay, like you feel maybe you don't have a lot of self-esteem, or you're going the other route where you're like, maybe I shouldn't have usurped my authority on that person today. It's all about a balance. So if you feel like your sun is a little out of balance right now, that's a really great mantra you can do today. Other things you can do for the sun is you can leave out a bowl of water and for the sun, and you can do that mantra and say, this water is for you. There's many things you can do. Really good teas and herbs are like hot things like cinnamon and cayenne and things like that. So that gets us to the Adi Devata, hot. That is Agni. He is an elemental and he represents fire. As you can see, he's got fire coming out of his mouth there. He's amazing. And he is in many different texts. If you read the Mahabharata, he took out the sandalwood forest that the Pandavas were in, is kind of an offering that they made him. He was in the Ramayana, and he performed the test of Sita to achieve her purity, and she basically walked through fire and came out unscathed. So he is a really great character to read about in the various texts. Additionally, he represents the element of fire. And the beautiful thing about this plane of Earth is that all of the elements work in harmony here. They are usually, they don't normally get along because, like, fire and water, earth and fire, things like that. But we live in these bodies where all of the elements are able to coexist peacefully, which just proves the divinity of this world. It's just incredible scientifically how beautifully organized and, both from a scientific chemical perspective, the biological perspective, all the way to just the fiery intellects and philosophies and technologies and things that are able to come out of this particular existence. So Agni is a part of that. He's the fire that illuminates the mind, the digestive system, our cells. It keeps us alive. Okay, so a really good simple mantra for him is Om Agniye Namaha. And if you want a little bit more oomph, Om Mahajawala Vidmahe Agni Devaya Dhimahi Tanno Agni Prachodayata. And that's his Gayatri mantra. So that's something else that you can do today if you want a little more fire or a little less fire in your life. You're just looking for that balance. Okay? He's the Adi Devata. He helps us with our mind. Now, the Pratyadi Devata, now, as you guys know, is one of my favorites, and it is Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is ruling the spirit of the day, and he is the king of the yogis, the great destroyer. He's part of the Trimurti, which consists of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. Vishnu is the preserver, Brahma is the creator, Shiva is the destroyer. And he destroys and burns all of the tamas, all of the ignorance, all of the ego out of the collective. So if you're feeling like the egos are a little out of control and they need a little more yogi, Shiva's the great guy. He's a great guy to meditate on today. And I'll give you a very simple mantra for him. He's wonderful. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And so that's something that you can do to just kind of calm the mind, get into that more yoga-based headset, and take your ego out of the equation so that you're not feeling as anxious about what's going on. Okay? On in the sky. Now, the main thing I'm going to address today is Mars and the moon. I addressed a lot of things that were going on yesterday as far as the nodes. I'm going to get a lot more into them as we come up on this March 14th and 29th eclipse. Okay. So, and that's going to be, I'm really going to get involved next Sunday. I'm going to show you guys some charts and some other things so you guys can prepare for it. But today I want to talk about the moon in Gandanta. What is a Gandanta? A Gandanta is a spiritual knot between the end of a water sign and the beginning of a fire sign. So the moon is moving from Pisces into Aries today, and he's moving through Pisces for most of the day, and then evening next morning he'll move into Ashwini, which is Aries, the next nakshatra. So right now the moon is in Revati. Revati was the nakshatra that was affected by the April 8th eclipse that brought us Project 2025. Revati is sattva, 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 which means pure, pure, pure. And it represents all of the good things, all of the good qualities. It's the bloom of the lotus. So tamas is described, that's inertia, ignorance, as the root or the ball of the lotus, the seed. When it begins to sprout, that's rajas. It gains intelligence. It's very active. It's very passionate. It starts to kind of move out of that inertia and into just a very like warrior-like energy. And then it comes a time to a calm place and forms this big, beautiful bloom, connects with divine energy, which is the Sahasrara, which is the crown chakra, and goes, oh, this is what's been going on the whole time. That's Revati. An example of a Revati in our community is Val from Dragonfly Crystals. One of the most beautiful minds and spirits you'll ever meet. Love her. Another Revati that's real big in the collective right now is Bernie Sanders. We love him. So these are people that are all about the collective. They see the divinity in all. They serve all. They don't have a big ego because they're above the water. They're seeing things for the way they are in spirit. Unfortunately, this was eclipse, and that's what brought about Project 2025. And the Revatis are going, hey, especially Bernie Sanders. He's actually becoming very popular among MAGA right now, which I thought was interesting. His videos are going viral. So it's nice to see the shift. But yeah, fortunately, there are some people that are starting to wake up from the tamas and hit into rajas because the Revatis are now going, wait a minute, okay? So this is the power to nourish. Revatis are all about nourishing people, mind, body, and soul. They're the people that are starting food kitchens. They're starting churches that are built in community service. They're looking at the least among us and saying, this isn't right, let's fix this. It's a very beautiful nakshatra. Now, this is what the Gandanta looks like. Revati is going to move into Ashwini. Ashwini is rajas, rajas, rajas. It's extremely passionate. It's Kamala Harris is an Ashwini, okay? And actually Kamala means lotus in Sanskrit. But she's an Ashwini. So these are very passionate people. These are people that aren't afraid to speak their mind. You know, she's a gun-toting liberal, okay? She's going around on her literal horse going, this ain't right, let's make it right. It's very passionate. It's very action-based. So when you go from this very light, beautiful, I mean, just think of like Val from Dragonfly Crystals. We all know her. Just, you know, it was almost Buddha-like happy energy. And then you move into this passion and gun-toting cowboy energy. It's a bit of a shift for some souls to make. And so another Ashwini would be like, oh gosh, what is her name? Nancy Pelosi is an Ashwini, okay? So these are really strong souls that are there to kind of like, they're the star of transport. They're movers, they're shakers. They want to get things going. They want to get things done. And their power is to quickly heal and reach desires. Why is their power to quickly heal? They're represented by the Ashwini Kumaras. Those are the physicians of the gods. So imagine that someone is hurt, for example, and they call in the local medicine man. That medicine man is running to that village before the plague spreads or the person dies. It's a very rajasic, active nakshatra, but it comes from Revati, which is a very pure place. So this Gandanta between fire and water is a place of peace, serenity, yoga, into this very rajasic, passionate, action-based energy. So if you're feeling that shift today, it could bring a little bit of anxiety. Just go with the flow, especially later tonight and earlier tomorrow morning when it's at the height, and just kind of breathe through it. Okay, so that's the overall energy of our lunar cycle coming up. And again, I'm getting more into the eclipses next Sunday, so you definitely don't want to miss that one. All right, so let's get into, Mars. Mars is now direct, and he's in the 7th house of the United States. That represents our allies. Okay, he was retrograde for a while, which gave the collective some time to rethink. So this new administration rethought how they wanted to have us move forward with our foreign partners, and they put that out on the world stage recently. Okay, and that was Mars and Gemini direct. So we're dealing with a little bit of that energy. Okay, so I'm going to go into what that looks like a little bit. And what the guides brought me was, oh yes, I love Val too. She is so cool, definitely. And then let's see. Val was the first reader I've ever joined when Susan Lynn introduced her videos, and that's where I discovered the rest of you light workers. Yeah, that's because she is the elephant. That's her animal. She's the matriarch. When you look at the savannah, the elephants and the lions are kind of the ones in charge. But even the lions are like, I'm not messing with that elephant. Okay, elephants are they're beautiful. They where the elephants go. If you notice this on the savannah, all of the rest of the animals follow. Every nakshatra has an animal. That's why I bring it up. And the nakshatra for Revati is the matriarch, the female elephant. They are the elephants that lead the rest of the herds, even the lions, to water during droughts. That's the power to nourish. That's Val. We adore her. Okay. So I'm going to go into, because we talked about Mars going direct in Gemini, what the guides called me to look into. Now, a lot of people have been talking about Nazis and Hitler and things like that, but not a lot of people talk about Mussolini. So I want to talk a little bit about his chart and how it's relevant to today. All right. Now, I'm getting this from Blood, Tears, and Folly. This is an objective look at World War II, and that's when Mussolini was a mover and a shaker. Okay. So Mussolini, he was part of the fascist movement in Italy. Okay. He was determined to enlarge his overseas possessions because, Italy wasn't enough. He wanted more. He liked to declare his admiration for Julius Caesar and an African empire smacked of ancient Rome. Mussolini relished the idea of erasing the shame of Adawa and teaching the Abyssinians a lesson by occupying their land. Now, Abyssinia and Albania were basically what they called easy pickings back then. There were people armed with spears, so that's why he was going after them first. He thought it would just be easy to take their land and resources. So he planned to occupy their land. This would unite the two Italian colonies into one Italian East Africa. So he wanted to take a big chunk of Africa out. So in 1934, Mussolini invaded Abyssinia, which is today Ethiopia, and he was confronted by huge lakes, a scorching desert, and formidable mountains. So Gaia was already going, really? You think you can handle this? To bring war to a successful conclusion, he used bombers. And the first town he bombed was Adawa. And even he used poison gas against the barefoot native soldiers armed with nothing more than a lethal spear, because these are, lion hunters. They're not out with napalm, okay? Hitler took advantage of the world's dismay at the Italian atrocities by marching into the demilitarized Rhineland, and so began larity with his own people, but made him many enemies abound. A world prepared to support his political experiments in his homeland, but they didn't like and could not stomach the pictures of gassed and bombed native villagers. So his own people started going, "What are you doing?" International disapproval only served to unite the Italians behind Mussolini. The Italian king was claimed emperor, and his empress was presented a golden rose by the Pope. Now, I went into how religion fits into fascism yesterday and how I'm seeing it in a lot of the chats where a lot of these things are being announced. Okay. Now, Mussolini's next adventure was to send troops to assist General Franco's nationalists fighting the civil war in Spain. In Britain and America, this bitter struggle was widely portrayed as the extinction of democracy by Franco's entirely evil fascist forces, although history's verdict on the Spanish Civil War is nowadays less simplistic. Mussolini became isolated and identified with right-wing extremism. Yet for him, the Spanish fighting was no more than an adventure. He told his son-in-law, Count Ciano, who was also his foreign minister, that it was to mold the character of the Italians into what he wanted. When Spain is finished, I'll just think of somewhere else to invade, he said. Perhaps Mussolini took to reading his own press releases and became obsessed about what other people thought about him. This was an ailment even for that Hollywood had no remedy for, and he began believing that he commanded a formidable fighting machine. So his ego just went off the tracks, and he was just like, I am going to take over all these lands. I am going to take all of these resources. I'm king. Look at me. Look at me. I went into Nebuchadnezzar a little earlier as well in another video, and I talked about what happens to these kings. Now, this is blood, tears, and folly, okay? So this is what happens when fascist leaders are elected into power, okay? So that's what we can expect to kind of happen along with some of our foreign allies, especially with Mars going direct in the 7th house. All right, so that brought me to the Gita, because today is Sunday, Surya Day, and it's all about the ego, right? So this is from the Gita, and it's a translation by Swami Sivananda. You can get all of Swami Sivananda's works on sivananda.org. They're free downloads and PDFs, okay? So, all actions are wrought in all actions are wrought in all cases by the qualities of nature only. He whose mind is deluded by egoism thinks, I am the doer. Me. Prakriti, or pradna, or nature, is the state of the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. I mentioned those at the beginning. Tamas is the inert seed state, rajas is the growth state, sattva is the bloom state. Okay, so that's inertia and ignorance brought up by passion and action, and then resting in purity and devotion and divinity. Okay. When this equilibrium is disturbed, creation begins. Body, senses, mind, etc. are formed, and the man who is deluded by his own egoism identifies the self with the body, the mind, and the life force and the senses, and ascribes to the self all the attributes of the body and the senses. So it's narcissism, okay? He therefore thinks through ignorance. I am the doer. There is no God. I am the doer. I am God. Okay. In reality, the gunas of nature perform all of the actions. But he who knows the truth, O mighty armed Arjuna, about the divisions and qualities and their functions, knowing the gunas as the senses, move amidst the gunas as the sense objects and are not attached. So he who knows the truth that the self is not entirely distinct from the 3 gunas and actions does not become attached to his actions. It's more based in service. He knows the truth about the classification of the gunas and their respective functions and understands the qualities of the sense organs. Those are our 5 senses, taste, smell, hearing, etc., sight, touch. He who knows the truth about the classifications of the gunas and their respective functions understands that the qualities of the sense organs move amidst the qualities of the sense objects. He goes, I'm not this body. I'm just a soul in this body experiencing it, okay? Therefore, he is not attached to his actions. He knows, I am a karta. I am not the doer. So this is someone who sees the divine in all beings, someone like Val, okay? Someone who has a more sattvic soul. There's a lot of us that have those. Some of us have tamasic souls that are just starting to wake up. Some of us have rajasic souls that are very passionate and interested in this stuff. And others are sattvic. They figured it out. They see the God in all, and they are not attached to the actions or the divine play that's going on. So that is just some of the things from the Gita that I hope will help understand the egos of the time. And thank you, Nancy. You're so sweet. I appreciate you. All right. So let's get into the astrology of today, because I think this is definitely important for us to look into. Okay. So the first card that I got is my card for America, okay, because she looks like the Statue of Liberty. This is the beautiful Empress. This is also my card for the divine feminine. When it comes to women in the country, there's been some things coming out that I believe is an attack on divine femininity. So this is a time where we need to, if you haven't already, I know many light workers have, but just encourage women who have maybe been deluded by the patriarchy, who are now waking up, to join our ranks, okay? To stand up for their systems, for their health care, for their rights to sit in assembly, for their rights to obtain an education, for their rights to not just be baby makers in the world for men who want to control every aspect of their lives, okay? The divine feminine is, according to the Project 2025, and my husband and I did a deep dive on this, it is going to be greatly squelched. If you look at the Egyptian times, a lot of the pharaohs were actually women, okay? And they ruled some of the most beautiful and golden dynasties of their time. If you look at many African heritages, Indian heritages, etc., women were rulers. They played many roles in various cultures. But in American culture, these last 248 years, the divine feminine has not been appreciated. And we're now heading into a time where the patriarchy is going to usurp this energy. We need to be here for each other, okay? All races and creeds, and help each other, okay? So that's the main message that I'm getting there. It's important that we don't lose our sense of direction as we do this. It's easy to feel lost, but if you're spending too much time with this facade that's coming out, their presence can hinder your own willpower and energy. So don't get discouraged by some of the negative emotions coming out of the male collective, okay? These are men that are very hedonistic. They don't want to control their senses. They want it all. They want it now. They want to do terrible things to women and children, and they want to be able to get away with it. That's why they're hoarding the wealth, so that the collective doesn't have the power or the resources to fight them, okay? That's why it's so important that we come together as a collective and we maintain our resolve, okay? If you're feeling especially, gosh, shy or not willing to kind of come out, or even afraid to voice your opinion, or you might be a little hesitant to explore making these connections, reflect on whether your discomfort stems from superficial concerns or very deep issues. If there are deeper issues, which I know a lot of light workers carry with them, try to suss some of those out in meditation and heal those wounds. Reach out to each other. I'm a resource as well for putting light into some of those areas that we're struggling with. Jyotish, that's the science of light. That's what I practice. There are a lot of Reiki healers and trauma specialists. There are Akashic Records readers like Val that can get into your past, find out where the wound is, and then help you work that out. I had a reading from her. It was excellent. There are various tarot and oracle card readers like, Marina, and there's so many of us, and Gerald from Tarot Stash. And we basically, the people that are standing here going, look, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling lonely, be mindful of these potential pitfalls of addiction and anxiety and depression, and instead move into personal empowerment. Join groups. See yourself as someone that can be a light in the dark world rather than just trying to hide in the dark, okay? There's so many of us in this community. I highly recommend that you look into that as well. All right. Then I got the future card, which has just been a bit of a stalker card for the collective. This is what I'm trying to avoid the collective falling into. This is the card of worry, losing the way, anxiety, distress, thrift, denial, thinking, well, I'll just save my three little beans over here. Don't do that. Go put them in the yard, grow them, borrow some fertilizer from your neighbor, and then share the beans, okay? This is a time where we need to come together as a collective and help. AI is probably set to take over a lot of our careers, a lot of our jobs. And then if they take away the social structures, in addition to that, it could lead to a lot of impoverishment in our communities. But if we come together in community, we can avoid some of these pitfalls. I remember during COVID, my husband and I struggled exponentially. I learned how to grow potatoes in the closet. I learned this from the African American community that was coming together in Harlem, etc. And they were finding innovative ways to grow food because food was going through the roof. It became 2 to 3 times in some of these communities. And they went, well, how can we just grow food even if all we have is an apartment closet, things like that. So it's time to take control of this anxiety that's overwhelming you, because worries are only going to paralyze our actions. And if we don't address their source, we can't focus on that beautiful present moment and make the most of what we have right now and start working together. Okay. So those who avoid you because of your problems, those people are not worth your energy. If they think that, oh, you're not fun, you're not interesting, those aren't your friends. Okay. Your true friends are the ones that are there for you in these times of anxiety, in these times of poverty, and they're assisting you through the process. The people who don't think that you're fun or interesting anymore, they were never your friends in the first place. Okay. So if you're feeling left out or ignored by certain people that have money in the bank and you don't, dwelling in that will not bring you any happiness. Instead, leave these misunderstandings behind and don't let them hinder your ability to live well in the present and do the best for yourself and your family. So they're saying, take the stress that you're feeling right now and turn it into a motivating force and try to harness it the best you can moving forward. Because if you visualize yourself confronting your worries and asking them what they're trying to protect you from, listen to their message and then use that to your advantage. Okay. That's the best advice I can give you guys just moving forward in these times. I hope that it was helpful. Well, I'm sending you all love and light, and we've got this.
Sacred knowledge from the stars. Vedic truth heals ancient scars. Mantras clear the karmic way, bringing light to guide each day. Let the planets show their signs as the cards and stars combine. Ancient wisdom flows through